Hello class, and welcome to Notes 7.G.4, Surface Area of Cylinders. Our standard today, 7.G.4, is know the formulas for area and circumference of a circle, and use them to solve problems, and give an informational derivation of the relationship between circumference and area of a circle. Our formulas for today, we actually only have one formula. And how you find this formula is when a cylinder is unwrapped and rolled out into its net, it's made up of two congruent circles and one rectangle. The base or length of the rectangle wraps around the circles, so it's the same as their circumference. So if you take a look here, we have two circles and one rectangle. So our formula for circle is pi r squared, so we plug that in instead of the circle. And our formula for our rectangle is base times height, or length times width. Now, we can bring that circle part down, and then instead of, since we don't know how long the rectangle is, and we know that the length or the base of the rectangle is the same as the circumference, we can plug in the circumference formula right here, 2 pi r, and then leaving the height of the rectangle. Okay, so let me show you what that looks like. This is our cylinder. I have a circle here, which we'll bring out right there. And then we have this bottom circle as well. And remember, a cylinder doesn't always have to be standing upright. It can be laying on its side. We'll still have those two circles. And then if I unwrap this middle portion like a label, it'll roll out and be a rectangle. Now, if I were able to roll this circle down across the rectangle, I'll notice the rectangle will wrap all the way around the outside of the circle. And as you know, around the outside is circumference, or the perimeter of the circle. So I want to use that circumference formula, which is 2 pi r, to find this length of the rectangle. The height of the rectangle is simply the height of the prism, okay, this cylinder. So from base to base, that's the height. So that will be given to you. So that gives you the height, or the width of the rectangle. What's not given to you is that length, and you're going to have to use the circumference formula to find that. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of these so you can kind of see how this works. Teacher example 1, pencils down. Find the surface area of the cylinder, round your answer to the nearest tenth. So the first thing I need to do is I need to make a net, which means I need to flatten this shape out. So again, I can see I've got a circle here, and then a skinny rectangle that goes around. Okay, and the easiest way to think of it is think of canned goods, like a can of soup. That label would be this rectangle right here. It wraps around, and that's why it's a rectangular shape. Okay, so now finding the area of this circle is nice and easy. Okay, find the area of this circle is nice and easy. And then finally, we have to find the area of this rectangle. Notice we have the width here. We do not have the length, so I'm going to have to use my circumference formula to find this length piece. Okay, so I've got s equals 2 pi r squared, because I have two circles, and my formula for area of a circle is pi r squared, plus 2 pi r, which is my circumference right here, times the height. Okay, so I can go ahead and plug my numbers in. For both the radii, I can put 4, and then the height of the rectangle is 3. Now I can go ahead and multiply. Notice before I can do any of this multiplication down here, I'm going to go ahead and square my number first. Okay. Notice also I have left pi here, the pi symbol, instead of plugging in 3.14, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and find pi at the very, very end. That way I can show you, if it says leave your answer in terms of pi, you do not have to plug 3.14 in. You can just leave that. So let's take a look. I've squared my 4. 4 squared we know is 4 times 4, which is 16. 16 times 2 is 32, so that's right here. And then I've multiplied my numbers. And again, I can multiply in any order. So if I want, I can do 4 times 3 is 12, times 2 is 24, or 2 times 4 is 8, times 3 is 24, or 2 times 3 is 6, times 4 is 24. So again, that order doesn't matter. Okay, now I see that I have addition, so I'm going to add my 32 pi to my 24 pi, and I end up with 56 pi. If the directions said to leave in terms of pi, I would simply put millimeters on the end, and this would be my answer. However, it doesn't, and it says to round to the nearest tenth now. So go ahead and multiply 56 times 3.14, and I end up with 175 and 8/10. And notice I need my millimeters and I need them to be squared. So I have 175 and 8/10 square millimeters. Okay, let's take a look at another teacher example. How much paper is used for the label on the can of peas? Now notice, just like I was talking about with the soup container, the label goes around the outside, but the label does not cover the top or the bottom. So notice we're just finding the area of that rectangle. We're not doing anything with those circles. So find the lateral surface area of the cylinder. Remember, the lateral surface area means around the cylinder, and you also have lateral surface area with prisms or pyramids. You're not including the bases, so we're not counting these two circles. So the formula just got a lot easier. We have S equals 2 pi RH. Okay, 2 pi r is the circumference of the circles around here. H is the height of the rectangle. Notice I'm not using any area formulas. Okay, where did it go? Okay, now instead of the r, I'm going to plug in the radius, which is 1, and the height of the rectangle, or the height of the cylinder, I'm going to plug in 2. Notice we're given the radius. If you're ever given the diameter, remember you'd need to cut it in half first to find the radius. Okay, now I can multiply my three numbers together. 2 times 2 is 4, times 1 is still 4. And I end up with 4 pi. Then multiplying 4 times 3.14, I end up with 12.56, or 12 56/100ths. Notice it doesn't say what to round to. But also, notice I don't have my units on there. My units do need to be squared. So my final answer is about 12 56/100 square inches. Okay. Again, because it doesn't say what to round to, we always round to the nearest hundredth. So if you're ever not sure, go to the nearest hundredth unless it tells you to do otherwise. Okay, so the big difference here is that you are not using the area of the bases. You're only finding the area, the lateral surface area, the area of that rectangle. So be very careful. Okay, go ahead. We've got 2 student practices. What I would like you to do here is ignore this where it says round your answer to the nearest tenth. What I would like you to do is I would like you to leave your answer in terms of pi, meaning do not plug in 3.14. Just leave the pi symbol in your answer. Go ahead and solve. Press play when you're ready to see the results. Okay, welcome back. Let's take a look. Hopefully you remember to write your formulas down first because we have 2 circles and 1 rectangle. We need to do the circle formula, pi r squared here. And for my rectangle, it would be base times height. My base, again, is the same as that circumference of that circle, 2 pi r. Okay, now I can plug my numbers in. Everywhere I see r, I'm going to plug in the radius, which again, it's given to me as 6. If they'd given us the diameter of 12, I would have had to cut it in half in order to use my 6. And then the height of the rectangle is the same as the height of the cylinder. It is 9. Okay, now again, I need to take care of my exponent. Over here, I can multiply in any order. So you can multiply anything you want. I'm going to go ahead and multiply the 2 times 6. So I end up with 36 here and 12 here. Notice I'm leaving the pi alone. I'm not doing anything with the pi. Now I can finally do the last of my multiplication. 2 times 36 is 72. 12 times 9 is 108. And I can add my 2 answers together, and I end up with 108 pi. Now again, that's not my final answer because I do need my units squared, which I will show you in just a minute. But as you know, we should have yards squared, so hopefully you got that part. Taking a look at our other one, again, we're writing in our formula. You always want to start there. Then we can go ahead and plug our numbers in. Again, we were given the radius, so we can use that 3, but I want to caution you to be very careful. If you're not given the radius, you need to find that first. Then I can square and multiply. Multiply again, and finally, adding my numbers together, I end up with 126 pi. Again, I need my units, so I need centimeters squared. If I just write centimeters, I will have the answer incorrect. So if I take a look at the final answers here, I have my answers left in terms of pi. I did also multiply them times pi so that you can see what the final answer would be. However, you do not need to write this down. because the important part is 180 pi yards squared, 126 pi centimeters squared. Okay, hopefully you did well on that. Please go ahead and go on to the quiz.